Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlicker, shills, deathslays, search peasants, vessels, minions, meat sacks. I'm Useful Idiot. Welcome. And back to the good old USA. And I haven't planned to do this video right now on Trump's advisors, but in light of Bernie Sanders appointing William K. Black, I thought it'd be a good time to just go ahead and do this one now. And Trump's advising team is not a dream team, but it's surprisingly uncontroversial. And it's refreshing to not see any project for a new American century people in here and the usual cronies from the Bush administration and previous to that as well, the Clinton administration people. Interesting lineup. And as usual, I'm mostly attracted to the fact that the status quo seems to be scratching their heads about this lineup of advisors. In fact, one quote is quote, many of us who have held senior positions in previous Republican administrations have been asking each other if we have ever heard of them. Pretty much everyone is turning to Google, unquote. So that pretty much says it all. Even the cronies that have served in previous Republican administrations haven't heard of any of these guys, and that's fucking good news. So Republican foreign policy establishment basically says, who are these people? So that's a good sign. That's what we want. We don't want all these neocon warmonger retreads. So let's look at this lineup real quick. Well, so we have George Papadopoulos, energy and geopolitics of the Caspian and the Mediterranean is his specialty. So a good advisor to have on board. And he does have some connections between a nefarious oil deal involving Trump and Israel. But after looking at the details, it doesn't seem to be too scandalous, although it does undermine the idea that Trump doesn't take any oil money. And then we have Carter Page from Global Energy Capital LLC, an investment banker with Merrill Lynch, and he spent 3 years in Moscow. So also somebody that doesn't have any controversy in his portfolio that I could find, and seems to be extremely well qualified. And I like the fact that he does have some connections in Russia. And then we have Walid Fares, a professor at National Defense University in Washington, D.C., and he is a global terrorism and Middle Eastern affairs expert who's written dozens of books and produced some documentaries. And once again, seems to be a very good expert and is an expert on foreign policy in the area that we need him to be an expert in. And once again, doesn't seem to have too much controversy attached to him and is not part of the old neocon crowd and part of the old Bush administration, and also not necessarily a Zionist, which is also refreshing. Then we have Joseph Schmitz, a former head of the Pentagon's office, the Inspector General from 2002 and 2005, and he seems to be another whistleblower type. He wrote a book called Fraud, Waste, Abuse, and Other Constitutional Enemies, Foreign and Domestic. So once again, sounds like somebody that we could be interested in having as an advisor, and somebody who's going to be a whistleblower, somebody who potentially is concerned about fraud, waste, and abuse. And he did have some connections and links with Blackwater, the old mercenary group, but once again, the connections were tenuous enough that it didn't really raise any alarms. Then we have Keith Kellogg, Vice President of CACI International, an information technology company, does contractors. He contracts to do defense, intelligence, and homeland security projects. So he seems to be also, once again, a good person potentially to have involved as a advisor. Although he did work with the Provisional Authority in Iraq, which has been a failure, but also commander of the 82nd Airborne and a communications expert with the Joint Chiefs of Staff. So all in all, enough experience and fairly well-rounded experience in the military and intelligence and security that seems like a fairly good choice. And once again, no real alarms went off. The only alarm that went off for me for this lineup of advisors for Trump is his association with Senator Jeff Sessions, which is questionable, and then mostly his association with Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton. Tom Cotton is another one of those warmongers, another one of those neocons, old school Republican Project for a New American Century type. In fact, he received $1 million from Billy Crystal's Emergency Committee for Israel and is backed by Sheldon Adelson. So a Zionist who I have a lot of problems with, and he was also at the center of sending a letter to Iraq that said that Barack Obama didn't have any authority to negotiate with them, which is preposterous, regardless of what side of the aisle you subscribe to. So anyway, there's a good look, a snapshot of the advisors that Trump has picked out so far, and not too bad for the most part. And once again, refreshing to see a bunch of people who are qualified, intelligent, have a good track record, and are not associated with all the failed administrations previously. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.